I'm still not sure how far apart we are.
Yeah, I definitely think we found something. UBI, well, it just points to the importance of direct subsidies to the populace and how that can affect politics. And I think that we have to look at that if we start to talk about implementing UBI on a national level, how that will affect our politics. And it's not going to stay at a current rate. It's probably going to move, increase faster than the rate of inflation, knowing politics and people wanting to get elected.
Maybe. I mean, Social Security didn't, though. I mean, Social Security now
Social Security is also insolvent, so I don't think we should compare it to.
Social Security is not insolvent. What's insolvent is the fact that we rated it and we, again, passed these huge tax cuts. Yeah. Anyway, Medicare and Medicaid has much more problems than Social Security, and that's because of dramatic healthcare inflation.
Sure.
You are like Bill Clinton in that you never turn it off. You love the he's a policy wonk.
I am, of course I am.
Bill Clinton was a policy wonk.
Well, I don't
And I'll point this out to our viewing audience that he also studied in Washington D.C. undergrad, then went to Yale Law.
Yeah.
So.
This is all true. But I actually do turn it off. When I'm playing basketball with Mike. That's my happy place.
It's channeled into a different direction.
You're a Sacramento Kings fan, aren't you?
No, Golden State Warriors.
Sorry.
No, I got nothing against the Kings. I was just, my extended family is originally from the Bay Area, so I've been a Warriors fan back before they were good.
Yeah.
Back in the We Believe days, and before that too.
Baron Davis.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you with something. You know that God wears pinstripes. That is a fact. It's in the Bible.
I'm more of an A's fan myself.
Oh.
To be honest, I don't.
Minor league team, and they keep sending us players.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Best team money can buy.
But that's the Red Sox.
Yeah, fair enough.
But except they're not the best.
Well, this has been good. It's been a good podcast, and just wrapping things up. I want to ask the final question, which is that something that we'll ask all of our guests is how can we, in this political climate, come together in a bipartisan manner like we did today and have a good conversation that leads to some promises being made, some deals being made on going forward. We asked Professor Nabors this yesterday.
So you go first.
We can start with you today.
I feel like my answer will probably not bring us closer together, but that's okay. I think that at the local level, we've actually done a pretty good job of having this kind of bipartisanship. At the local level here in Anchorage, I think we've accomplished a lot, and I don't really care if a proposal comes from Crystal Kennedy, who's a conservative, or Austin Quinn Davidson, who's a progressive. I think we've done a lot of work, and there's no letter next to your name. At the state level, actually, we have a remarkable amount of bipartisan. We have a bipartisan coalition right now. The divide at the state level is actually not between Democrat and Republican. It's basically between the people that went to Juneau and whatever you call the people that went to Wasilla. Right, when we had the two different competing sessions. And there were Republicans, well, there were only Republicans in Wasilla, but there were Republicans and Democrats in Juneau. I think the way to reduce partisanship, a couple things. I think you have to reduce, and this is where Professor Nabors, I think, will disagree. You have to reduce some of the counter-majoritarian structures of our country. So at the national level, we have this rampant partisanship. And I think in particular, you have to reduce the amount of money in politics, and you have to reduce income inequality. All of those things are related. So if you survey American people right now, they think income inequality, if you measure the Gini coefficient, is right about here. And they think, and you ask them, what should it be? And they say it should be right about here. But the actual reality in the world is that it's here. It's the highest it's been since the 1920s, and it creates a ton of problems and pathologies in our political discourse. And when you have, again, I don't want to be too partisan, but if you have a party that's committed to that sort of vision of the country that's so out of step with the vast majority of people, you're going to lead to a politics of dishonesty and a politics of that sort of is the naked the naked use of power, exercise of power. And you're going to destroy a lot of norms, okay? To do that, if you believe that you are right and your policy preferences are so out of whack with what the majority of people want, you're going to start doing things like, for example, using the filibuster all the time. And the clearest example, I think, of where this partisanship has taken us is the case of Merrick Garland, right? And Mitch McConnell basically saying, I won't even give your Supreme Court justice, your potential Supreme Court justice, a hearing, right? And in so doing, capturing this seat for the Republican Party, this seat, and flipping the Supreme Court. So before I came here today, I was reading up on, there's now a sort of mainstream political discourse in the Democratic Party about we need to quote unquote unpack the court. The court has been packed by the Republican Party and we need to unpack it. So if a Democrat wins the presidency and we take the Senate, I think you will see serious calls to increase the size of the Supreme Court, to unpack the packing that's been done the last several cycles predominantly by Mitch McConnell, right? So that to me, getting rid of some of those counter-majoritarian forces, bringing the Republican Party more in line with the policy preferences of the rest of the country, I think that will lead to a lot more bipartisanship. But right now, you have a National Republican Party, and again, this is where Professor Nabors and I probably disagree. You have a National Republican Party that is careened so far out of the mainstream that none of their policy preferences are actually held by almost any of the majority of the people in the country. And when that's the case, bipartisanship, when you were saying Democrats need to move closer to the Republicans, I think that is very hard to achieve and not necessarily what should happen. So I think, again, you need to reduce the impact of money in politics. You need to bring the Republican Party closer to where the mainstream of the American people are, and you need to reduce income inequality. In so doing, you will help heal the divide of partisanship at the national level. At the state level and local level, it's a little bit less bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
No more time for me.
Yeah, we can do another podcast on that wrap-up, but last words, Professor Nabors, it's all yours.
He's wrong about everything.
That's fine.
No, I appreciate those remarks. I mean, I would just say very briefly that I think both parties are in serious trouble, both of them. And the problem, I mean, what I just heard sounds like what I also hear from those who incline left, which is that the way to solve the problem in our civil discourse is for people on the right to basically give up and join us.
Or to become less radical.
Or to become more like us.
Come a little bit more towards the center. I mean, the same pressure that was...
I'm talking now, sir. See, that's the problem.
There's no real political left in this country. There's a centrist and there's a right.
But the solution, what I just heard, as you explain it, is basically for people who are on the right to come to the left. And that's how you solve bipartisan.
Come closer to the center.
Yeah, but look, I mean, the left has been... our political spectrum in this country, if you want to look at left and right, has been going left for a while. And so what essentially you're saying is, people who are on the right, you need to run to the left as fast as we do. And that's how you solve bipartisan. No, what we mean by bipartisanship, what I understand to mean by his question, is that we continue to be in principle disagreement. We're able to figure out where we have common ground, and we're able to talk to each other and maybe try to sway each other some. The problem is that the lack of that in the political spaces, and the lack of civility. What I would say, yeah, he's etching, you all remember, but there is a big problem in your party that I see nationally, not in Alaska. But nationally, it is a problem but I won't exempt the Republican Party from criticism. I mean, I've been a registered independent for the longest time, and that recently changed. Because I want to help clean things up. And I've been a registered independent for years.
Can I ask one question before we wrap up?
It's a hell of a time for me to become a Republican, right?
Yeah.
And when Trump, because I'm a never Trumper, I didn't vote for him, I never will. But I want to help clean things up, and that's why I want to work with an Niskanen Center.
So as the country becomes more diverse demographically, it appears that the policy preferences of the electorate is becoming, as you would say, sort of further to the left. So my question is, the Republican Party that is ostensibly committed to both capitalism and democracy, if it becomes the case that they cannot be committed to their current vision of capitalism, Do you think they'll give up that vision of capitalism, or they'll give up the democratic impulse? Because we have things like gerrymandering, for example, the way that was used in North Carolina, the way that it's used in Wisconsin. We have things like the filibuster. We have things like the Electoral College that will again and again frustrate the Democratic majority, and I say little d Democratic majority. Do you think the Republicans will double down on those kind of counter-majoritarian strictures, or do you think they will change their sort of policy preferences?
Well, I think that is a great question for our next episode.
I'm gonna have to. I'll chew on that one for us. We'll come back.
But we are definitely approaching an hour in this podcast,
Okay.
so we gotta wrap things up. But we do appreciate you guys sitting down, and I will be more than happy to sit down with you guys again to pick up that question for us. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.